One of the questions we get to ask ourselves in retirement is, where do I want to live? Now that I'm not chasing the job or the career, um, what, where do I want to spend the bulk of my time? And I say the bulk because we're so flexible in retirement, we can actually go visit friends and family and see different folks. And it's kind of on my mind as I'm traveling up to Cody for an appointment. I'm pondering why people move to different places. And typically, if you subscribe to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Maslow's theory of hierarchy of needs, I think is how you say it. We primarily look at, I think, locations for first our physical needs and securities, right? I think his first one is called physiological needs, and that's food, shelter, air, water. Then our safety needs are security and safety, right? And I'm also pondering this as I'm thinking and planning a trip to Scotland next summer, to go visit the homeland of my ancestors, if you will. My dad's family, if you trace them back to about the 1600s, is when they landed in America, but they were in Scotland for quite some time before that. Aberdeenshire. So, lots of research. But I was thinking, as I was looking at some of those areas, well, what brought them to America? There was a promise of a new life, a new beginning, but my guess is it was probably one of those first two needs, either food, shelter, water, air for their families, or safety and security. Maybe it didn't feel like or wasn't a safe place at the time. I don't know, and I'd like to do a little bit of research on that before we go. But then you move into the next two. If you haven't seen Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if I can, I will try to put it on here. If I can't, I'll link it in the description below, so just kind of some articles that you can read about. But the next two needs are psychological needs, and it's belongingness and love needs. So those are intimate relationships and friends. And then the next level is esteem needs, prestige and feeling of accomplishment. So to me, that means, that third layer is having good relationships, family, friends, whatever. And then the next level of esteem is really kind of our careers, pursuing what we love to do and getting to the highest level maybe of what we want. And so those are interesting and fun ways to think about how our life levels up and why we might choose to live in different locations. Some of us maybe move to a different location to go help with family or friends in need. And maybe we don't get that fourth level met of job accomplishment. Or maybe we got it met and then we go to the next, we go backwards so that we can go help others. Or maybe what we did was move into that fifth level of self-actualization, which is finding our full potential, and often that also includes some creative endeavors. So as we think about that, and I think about my ancestors moving likely again for those first two needs of physical needs and then safety and security, what would have caused them then to continue to move from like the Carolinas to Tennessee, Alabama, and finally to Texas, which is where I was born and raised? Because most of my family remained in Texas. It's a sense of place. I think a lot of us who were born and raised in a certain location, that is home, and there's an attachment there. But if you can't meet any of those first four needs, I think, then sometimes you move on. And so for me, I moved on because I really wanted to pursue a career. And I knew through that career I could get those first three things met. And so anyway, it was just an interesting thing to contemplate. So here we are, retirees. We probably have those first four met. We've probably pursued those. And now we get to say, well, what will motivate me? Because these are the motivations of people and why we do the things that we do, not just moving, but I applied it to moving. Why would we feel like in pursuit of self-actualization, reaching our full potential and creative endeavors would be met better at one location than another? And I really don't have an answer for that. I think that physically for me, as I pursue health goals, not gonna lie, it's easier to meet those in Arizona because the weather is great pretty much all year long. But my relationships are, my husband is my most important relationship, of course. But then, my kids and grandkids are in Wyoming right now, although they are looking at how they can continue to climb, and maybe they'll move in order to meet some of those other needs, the psychological needs that they're interested in. And so, it's a beautiful life where none of us is tied to one specific location. You hear about retirees moving to France or moving, to Mexico. And I think some of them are moving because they need those first two levels met, maybe, or even just the first one. Maybe they, based on a lifetime of trials, they don't have maybe the resources to live in the U.S. and they can have more of those other needs met in different places that maybe aren't as expensive. So it's just an interesting thing. It's Kim's ponderings today as she's driving on the road. I thought I'd record this and see if you have any thoughts. What would compel you to move one place or another? What do you think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs and how that applies to us in retirement? It's actually a fascinating thing. I really love the deep reflection and thoughts, although sometimes my mind can continue spinning and I've got to get my gut engaged and let's move out and make a decision. Thankfully, we've got a few years to make a decision, but definitely interested in gathering more data. What do you think? Did you make a choice to move to Florida and hit the golf course? Because really, that's what you want to do. That is your even creative endeavor. Or are you hanging out and pursuing creative endeavors in areas where your family lives or where home is for you? I'd be interested in hearing from you. As always, thank you so much for spending time with me. This is just a little extra video that I hadn't planned to make until I started pondering some of these things and thought I would try the car video. I promise you, I'm being safe. This is a very, very remote road. There aren't too many people passing on the road, and I'm well under the speed limit. So anyway, I will see you again soon. Hopefully you don't get too tired of me. I'm going to try to record a video getting our Christmas tree tomorrow, and I will probably post that on the weekend. So I will see you guys again soon. Thanks again. I'll talk to you later.